Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We begin conversations this morning in studio, and we start off by speaking with Miss Earlisa James. She is the chairman of the Tobago Agri-Technology Services Limited, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the company this morning to give you some information and where we are in terms of that upcoming summit. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Of course, a pleasure having you here this morning in studio. And quite recently we've been hearing a lot about tags. And so, I want to have a little overview as to who TAGS is. What does it mean? I mean, I know the acronym stands for Tobago Agri-Technology Services Limited. But can you tell us a little bit about the company itself?
Well, TAGS was registered late last year, and its primary goal is to transform Tobago's agriculture sector with the use of technology. So, as such, our mission is agricultural growth through technology and stakeholder collaboration by fostering food security for a sustainable use. So, the company's vital role is to enhance food security by utilizing different modern technologies in the traditional farming practices, right? So by doing that, we could allow farmers, fisher folk, agro-processors, beekeepers, and everybody in between to have that knowledge and that tool using agri-tech-based solutions for enhanced productivity and efficiency. So that is what TAGS is really focused about, to utilize different agri-tech-based solutions to boost our food production on the island.
And I was about to ask you about the clients. Who's your target audience? And you did mention quite a wide range there. So just go over it again for me so that ensure our viewers are able to hear who the audience is. Because when you're talking about farming or agro, you're basically thinking about crops primarily, but your reach is a little bit wider. So tell us again about who your primary clientele is.
Well, as I mentioned before, I've mentioned the farmers, the fisher folk, the agro-processors, the beekeepers, tech innovators, industry experts. It's a wide range of stakeholders who can benefit from using different agri-tech-based solutions in farming, fishing, etc.
Right, and now you are preparing for this summit that is coming up. It's beginning on the 1st of December, and the theme is climate change, adoption, and resilience in agriculture. Right, a very, very loaded topic. And as we know, the globe has been impacted by climate change for quite some time. And the conversation on climate change has been picking up. And so people are now becoming a little bit more aware as to what climate change is and the impacts it can have on societies. Why did you choose this team at this point in time to focus the Innovation Summit on? And how the content or the summit itself going to support the topic, the team, sorry?
Well, we realize that climate change is a global challenge. And in the Tobago agriculture sector, it's particularly vulnerable to its impact. So, such as droughts, storms, altered rainfall patterns, heat stress, which would impact the timing of agricultural production, which could reduce crop yields, which could ultimately lead to increase of food prices. So it's a wide range of different impacts, and that is why this summit would address these issues and give solutions and tools for the farmers or the persons who will be there at the summit with innovative solutions such as drought resilient crops, climate change, smart climate practices, different climate change smart devices. That is what we're going to discuss on the day of the summit. And ultimately, we would encourage or empower the agricultural community to adapt these tools and knowledge so we could push forward to boost our production right here on the island, which would ultimately lead to Tobago's economic growth.
And you're talking about technology in agriculture. Um, and I know that this summit invites persons not just from Tobago in the Tobago space, but also in Trinidad and probably regionally and anywhere in the world for that matter, who can benefit from what is going to be taught or learn or experience at this summit. In terms of technology in agriculture, how does that fit into what T.A.G.S is doing and especially making impact in the region, the Caribbean region, in the first instance?
Well, T.A.G.S has a broad vision, simply to position Tobago as the lead or the model in agri-tech innovation in the Caribbean. It's the first of its kind, an agri-tech summit in the Caribbean. So we're already starting that leadership in that direction. And where we see T.A.G.S is, well, that is why it's important to have active involvement of our local farmers right here. And we do encourage persons internationally to come, but we focus on the local farmers and the local fisher folk because this vision can only come a reality with them involved. So by T.A.G.S providing that knowledge and the tools for the farmers, we empower the community, as I mentioned before, right? And we would allow farmers to adapt to different challenges, as I mentioned, as relates to climate change for this summit. So that is what we are looking at as T.A.G.S being the, well, T.A.G.S really leading the innovative technology-based solutions for our agriculture in Tobago within the Caribbean.
And T.A.G.S, as you mentioned, is a relatively new company, just registered just last year, you mentioned, right? Relatively new. How do you plan to continue to engage after the summit is all ended? How do you engage with your stakeholders, your farmers, your agro-processors, your beekeepers, and the whole list of stakeholders that you mentioned? How do you plan to continuously provide that measure of support for them, whether it is in innovation, whether it is financial support, financial advice, whether it is providing them with equipment? How do you plan to continue that relationship?
Well, as it relates to our local stakeholders, the farmers, we plan to do training and we also have like a help desk. So we will encourage farmers to contact T.A.G.S if you have any challenges, and T.A.G.S will give you any, well, the agri-tech-based solutions for your challenges, right? So that is what we're looking at after the summit. And we look at also different training programs, as I mentioned, because what farmers had mentioned as it relates to technology is the training aspect, how to utilize these different equipment and techniques for their own benefits. And that is what we're looking at for the farmers. And we want to also target the students. So that is why we encourage students to come at the summit, because we're trying to widen or create the opportunity for students to now see there is career opportunities between agriculture and technology, right? So we don't want to really encourage traditional farming. We want to kind of incorporate the technology with the traditional farming. And that is why we need the students, the schools, and different educational institutions to be the next generation of agriculture and technology. And one more thing I would also mention is our private sector, the private sector, and how we could collaborate. So T.A.G.S looking at partnering with our private sector, because we know that we have mandates that is aligned towards being innovative in Tobago. So that is why this summit is really a place for persons to collaborate, to learn, to network, because we have different private sector policymakers who will be at the summit. And that would start the conversation of how can we move forward? What kind of different agri-tech-based solutions that we could implement right here, that is already being used right here, that we could reach out to the wider farmers right here locally, and how they could use those solutions to enhance their productivity. And because that is what we're really looking at. We're looking at trying to assist our local stakeholders and how they can utilize all the skills and all the trainings that we have for their own betterment.
And I was going to ask, how does this summit cater to the different types of stakeholders you mentioned? For instance, if I am into beekeeping, how does it impact me? Is there going to be a specific segment where I am concerned, because we're talking now about livestock, we're talking about different types of agri. How does this summit cater to each specific stakeholder or clientele, as it were, for participation?
All right, so there are different workshops and sessions as it relates. So, like, for example, aquaponics, drone system, pest management, and for other persons who are interested in funding opportunities. So we have different persons who are coming to present at the summit, who, like ADB, BDU, different financial institutions who could assist farmers and letting them know, okay, well, we could develop different programs for persons to get different grants or loans towards your vision in utilizing different agri-tech-based solutions. So that is how we try to target everyone to come to the summit. Some of the sessions would be more specifically aligned towards the farming and the fishing, but it's still opportunities as it relates to networking and collaborating with different exhibitors who will be present. So for me, if I was a beekeeper, for example, I would love to go to the summit to look at the different exhibitors, because it's over like 15 exhibitors, and you could gain a lot of information. You will realize that there are different technologies out here, right here actually, in Trinidad and Tobago, that I could utilize to make my production easier, more efficient.
And it's something so exciting in terms of the use of the technology and the opportunities that can be gained from being a part of this summit, the networking and all of those things happening. And with T.A.G.S being such a young company now starting up, in terms of your impact in Tobago and the region, what are your goals for the next 5 or so years? Let's say 5, 10 years down the road. Where do you see T.A.G.S making that measure of impact, introducing the technology in agri in Tobago, in Trinidad, and the wider Caribbean region?
Well, T.A.G.S have its corporate objectives, as we like to say, our SMART corporate objectives: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So we have goals that is specific towards targeting a certain amount of farmers and agro-processors within a certain amount of years. So to see T.A.G.S in the next 5 years, it would be seeing at least 90% of the farmers and agro-processors in Tobago utilizing at least one segment or one part of technology to enhance their production. So that is what we're looking at, and also identifying different training and workshops. So the secretary was here yesterday, and she had mentioned Mr. Marcus Michael, who had did training here in Tobago, where he had showed different techniques of the papaya and how you could have papaya production in a shorter space of time. So using technologies like that would encourage farmers right here to actually look at agriculture as a business to make money. And that is what we're trying to push. We're trying to give the farmers and the different stakeholders here the essential resources. So that is what T.A.G.S aim to see in the next 5 years and for many years to come. even after that. And every year we will look at different ways that we could implement different types of technology that is needed for the farmers right here.
Right. This song's so good. So tell us, after giving all this information, hyping up everybody, getting them so interested in, being a part of something that is advancing, because we're talking about climate change, combating climate change, increasing productivity, additional resources and opportunities. How does a farmer or any stakeholder be a part of this summit? How do I get, is there a registration form or a fee, or how do I get involved in this?
For persons who are interested in attending the summit, you could get your tickets on Island E, right? Or you could visit our office. We are being housed within the division. As we said, we are new. So we are at Sherburne on the Millshire Administrative Complex. So you could always come any day this week between 8 to 4 if you're interested in registering. The price to pay for persons interested is $250 TT for 2 days, which is pretty good. And students is $100 for 2 days. So that would more target like the tertiary students. So if you are interested, you could come to Island E tickets and the division for tickets.
Thank you so much, Mr. James, for coming on this morning and giving us all that information. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Ms. Earlisa James. She is the chairman of the Tobago Agri-Technology Services Limited, better known as T.A.G.S, giving us information on the Innovation Summit upcoming. They begin on the 1st and they run to the 3rd of December. They'll be there at the Shore Park Complex. Of course, you can get your tickets on Island E or at the Millshire Administrative Complex at the T.A.G.S office. You don't want to miss this. You want to get the information and you want to know how you can access all the opportunities that are there. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations in studio this morning. And as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.